The first time I'm actually attempting to do a live stream using Restream software. I'm going to talk a little bit about my life. I'm going to look here on YouTube to see. Oh, good. It showed up. So now let me see if the number appeared. Might be difficult to toggle between chat um, on YouTube and looking at chat directly on Restream. So I don't know if it automatically puts it in there for me or not. So I'll see how that works. So I will try my best to toggle back and forth the best I can. And actually, I think if I just pull down the window, here we go. So there are lots of things that are open for discussion today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my life at Hyles Anderson, which was horrible, by the way, horrible experience. It's not a place for anyone to send their children, and if so, if you send your children there, you're going to be very disappointed. Now, growing up, I went to uh, independent Baptist churches. I went to not fundamentalist churches, though. I went to Methodist churches, Free Will Baptist churches a lot. So my background was small town, none of this diversity stuff and all that stuff in my town. It was just a small, very, very, very small town. I mean, hundreds of people, not thousands, you know. My elementary school, kindergarten through fourth grade, had about 70 people. So that was all the classes put together. So when you went to church, that was this was before computers. I mean, not before computers altogether, but before what we use computers for today. No, I'm not 100, uh, but uh, so my life was limited, and church was a defining thing in my life. So I took it very seriously. My personality being an INTJ type, Asperger's, which I didn't know at the time, of course, means I just saw everything in terms of good and bad, polar extremes, black and white, if you will. Not racially black and white, but I'm saying there were no black people in our town, so couldn't be that. So I'm talking about just mentally, in a there are two sides, good and bad, and that's when I heard sermons, I was one of the few that believed it. Now the funny thing was is I didn't realize you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to actually believe the Bible. Now see, I thought sincerely from my heart that everybody that went to church growing up, I thought, well, they're here because they really believe it, because this is really important to them. That's just not really how it works in real life. People just they go to church for a million other reasons, but not because they're sold out to the idea, because God means more than anything to them, or because they have any clue who God really is, or care to know who God really is, because that's really determined by something inside saying, I commit more than anything to truth, to altruistically helping others and helping others. And who really does that? Let's see, powered by research. Yeah, okay, there's that. Yeah, good. If you want to call in, you can call in using the live stream link, and it is in the description. Good. So cool. And I was going to put it on there again, and oh no, I did. Okay, so no, it's there. Good. Either way, it's good. All right. So anybody wants to call in, they're welcome to call in. Now, I'm not doing this for money. I did write a book, but I wrote a book because it was a topic I was interested in, and I always wanted to write a book. I don't care about money. I live just fine. Um, I'm not. I value friends over money. I've seen some other channels lately where money is much more important than friendship. As you may have seen by kicking people out who've helped you get places because you're afraid of losing people who come in and talk on your channel. That's really sad. I don't want to name names. I don't want to call people out like that. But that's that's unbelievable to me. And that shows that's a person who isn't committed, whether they believe in God or not, isn't committed to truth, isn't committed to people, and that's what's wrong with the world today. Okay. Now, and yeah, this is all going to tie into my life and all this, but Because when I was a kid, that's what I cared about most, was knowing reality, and I still do. Knowing what's true, knowing, uh, trying to come up with as close to objective reality as I possibly can, and ultimately finding out recently that you can't quite get there, no matter how hard you try, and that being very distressing, um, very difficult for me, maybe for some others too. And of course, if that's you and you want to tell me a little bit of your story, that's perfectly fine. And by the way, I got this little thing that says "Stand with Ukraine" in the corner. I did not put that there. I do not stand with Ukraine. Okay, I stand with Vladimir Putin and with Russia. Let me just put that out there right now. Who writes about look-alike conspiracies? Sure, sure. If that's what you want to call it, hey, more power to you. Look-alike conspiracies. Um, I feel like, generally, and I'm trying to be nice, but when somebody says something's a conspiracy without understanding or looking into it really good, what somebody's saying, and they just see a very surface, superficial level of what somebody says and then makes a judgment on it, generally those people are not committed to knowing and understanding truth. Hey, check it out. So it does put it not only on YouTube, but it puts it in my chat when you type on YouTube. Good. Now I know that that happens. I am going to exit out of YouTube and just keep the Restream on. Okay. Again, it's my first time using this. So, but generally speaking, and this is the problem with the world, people think that they have the intrinsic ability and power to sum up anything without knowing about it, understanding anybody without getting to know them first, and make a judgment superficially and quickly. And I find this lack of awareness and understand, this mental whatever it is block in virtually everyone. I mean, hundreds of millions of people in this country. It's almost impossible to find someone who really just cares about knowing the truth for the truth's sake and cares about people for people's sake. For instance, I'll be talking about, dead children, and people get scared. They think, oh, well, that means you want to kill kids. They say stupid things like that all the time. No, no, I want to defend people. And say it scares people off automatically. That's what they all do. So as soon as you talk about dead kids, as soon as you talk about dead wives or murders, people get scared. They want nothing to do with it, and that's usually the easiest way to chase off people who really don't care about truth. That's one way I say it, because you can detect them a mile away. It's really, really hard to find somebody that really cares. What service to join? Gmail is more secure than video platforms. I have no idea what you're talking about, dude. Maybe I'll try that sometime. Anyway, back to my life. So it's very hard to find people that really care about truth for truth's sake, and who just really want to help people for people's sake. You mentioned that somebody's been murdered and they run for the hills. Now it started out me these modern epiphanies when I started trying to understand the world, when I finally got financially able enough to not spend all my time working, so that I could really study and look into truth for myself. Because for, gosh, I don't know, from the time I graduated from that stupid school, Hyles Anderson College, in 2004 until 2017, all I did was work 3 and 4 jobs, and it just keeps you too busy. And a lot of people, I understand this is why. And it wasn't like I was doing it to get rich. It was like I was doing it to scrape by, because Hyles Anderson so destroyed my life and my ability to. In case your videos are censored, you can use mail as a backup to communicate with people. Okay, I appreciate that. Um, I do download and keep all my videos just in case. I want to try to be really careful not to do things that get me censored, though. But you never know. Um, I've had some videos pulled in the past, and I think I'm learning what the algorithms are looking for. So you got to disguise certain words And maybe I'll screw it up one of these days. But they just took my friend's account completely away that he had since Facebook begun, and he had a really hard time getting it back. He was sending them licenses and IDs for the last 20 years just to prove who he was because somebody was messing with his Facebook account. And that's Facebook, not YouTube. But these things can and do happen, unfortunately, in this crazy world. So anyway, back to my story. When I was going to school as a kid, I really took it seriously. I would take my prayer list and I would write down hundreds, probably thousands of prayer requests in this huge book. And I became so because of my not I wasn't a fundamentalist yet, but because of my Asperger's and taking things so seriously in black and white, that I became so committed and seeing that this was everything in the universe that I would spend all nights, many nights on school nights, you know, staying up to 4 or 5 in the morning praying over this prayer list and getting a big map of the United States that has thousands of little towns and praying for each little town, taking it real serious. And this is really mentally distressing. I mean, because you feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders, and so you always think God's talking to you. And it's just really kind of paranoia. But at the time, you really believe that God's talking to you, that God wants you to do things, that God cares about the world, and so I sold all out. So I go to church, I go visiting with when nobody else does, and I'm thinking everybody should care. And so I try to inspire people to get them to care. So I do crazy things at church, like grab the flag and run around the church. And this is not like a these are quiet churches. These are not churches like the Pentecostals or Apostolics where hooting and hollering and all this stuff, speaking in tongues and that kind of crazy stuff is completely accepted. No, these were quiet churches, okay? But I felt compelled because I felt like, hey, why do I see it and nobody else in the church does? you know, I still feel like that in a lot of areas, but not about um, not about everything, but not like this. And I would visit, and just felt like I had to visit all the time because darn it, I mean, if hell is real, you got to get as many people out of there as possible. So every waking minute that I could, I was visiting, evangelizing. I joined a drama team where we'd travel around and have a big presentation and big altar calls and big responses. Um, so my heart was completely in it, and it seemed like the natural thing to go to Bible college because I thought I had to preach, but I also didn't feel like I was qualified or able to do it. Okay, because I felt the weight of the world, but I didn't feel mentally like this is what I want to do. I felt like this is what I had to do, and so this contradiction between the two ideas was ever present, and always causing conflict in my mind. Uh, it's a terrible way to live, and I lived that way for gosh, 30 years. Gosh, no, now look, I've been to church since I was little, so I guess you could say for 40, 42 years. Just in the last 2 years have I really started coming completely out of it. But we dropped fundamentalism back in around 2012 or so. But to come completely out of it and see the problems that are intrinsic in the Bible, that happened just very, very recently. Uh, so it seemed like the natural thing to do would be to go to college, right? But I couldn't convince myself that I could preach. So I went to Clearwater Christian College in Florida for 2 years, studying to be a history teacher. I really liked history. I wanted to learn more, and I feel like that's sort of an avenue towards learning truth. But on top of that, Ken Ham and his friend Gary Parker came to speak in our town. Ken Ham that built the Creation Museum and the Ark, and we're going to go see the Ark here soon. So I'm not against seeing these things. I'm not trying to discourage people from believing what they want to believe, even though I understand it not to be literal anymore. Uh, People can think what they want. It's a big world, right? People have to contest ideas and get to learn and understand things on their own. So, anyway, Ken Ham and Gary Parker had come to my town and given a big presentation there in Portsmouth, Ohio. And I thought, hey, well, Gary Parker teaches at Clearwater, so that'd be a good place to go. It was a lot cheaper than where was that other place? Not Circleville, Cedarville College in Ohio, which at the time was $14,000 a year, and I thought that was outrageous. Now it's like 35,000 a year or something like that. I don't know how people go to school, but anyway, I went to Clearwater Christian, and while we were down there, if you know the name Clearwater, if you know anything about that town, what are they famous for? Scientologists, right? So it wasn't long before I discovered there were Scientologists. Now I'm a very Asperger's, very INTJ person. I don't know that I am because I never heard these terms at the time, you know, and from a very small town. So I had no friends. I was always put off by other people and by music, by just pretty much anything. So I was in the smallest box a person could possibly be in. So when I go down to Clearwater, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to continue. Hey, this is a Christian college. People must care down here, right? Because why else would people go to a Christian college if they don't care about truth, right? What a crazy way to think. But apparently, people really don't care about truth, generally speaking. Uh, but that, but I had to sneak out with people to go evangelize. After a while, at first I thought, okay, well, there's only a few people that are really dedicated. Maybe other people are just studying to do their ministry later on or to become teachers or whatever, but I still wanted to evangelize. So I actually had to sneak off campus with like girls, not to do things with the girls immorally, according to the terminology, but to evangelize. Isn't it crazy that you have to sneak off campus to do, the calls of Christ? But no one was interested. So we would go down to the Scientology buildings and we would see those guys and we would try to talk to them. And these Scientologists, they were something else. Now I didn't fully understand what these people were. It was brand new to me. I had no clue. But a few of them would actually stop and talk and try to explain to you. They were spending, gosh, this was in 95 and 96 and 97. These people were telling me they were spending $50,000, $100,000. Started listening to Rimini recently, Leah Rimini, that came out of there, the actress, and or Rimini, however you pronounce her name. And I think she said she spent over $1 million down there in Clearwater. Well, I didn't know who was in charge of this stuff. I didn't know much about it, but I was just looking at it only from my perspective. Let's try to let's try to win these people. But the look on their faces, and the fact that they were all wearing Navy outfits, and none of them were in the Navy. You knew it looked like they're just in a daze. All of them are in a daze. You think, what's wrong with these people? Why are these people like this? So I hope everybody's hearing me okay. If you're on there, if you're not hearing me, let me know. Or I hope the sound's okay. I think it is. So anyway, so after a while, I started realizing I'm only like I and another girl are really care about any ministry, and other people are just as fake can be down there. And I'm thinking, okay, I want to up this, and at the same time, I'm feeling this conflict in my mind. Wait, the whole world's going to hell. Am I doing the right thing by deciding? Oh, good, thank you, what service? I appreciate that. Appreciate that for letting me know there. But I'm thinking, am I doing the right thing by learning history when the whole world's going to hell and all this? And I'm seeing these people, and even the Christian colleges, nobody cares. I mean, all I could think was dig my heels deeper, turn to the right, and go stronger. Let's. This just isn't enough. That's the problem. Isn't that what I'm doing is wrong or anything, or that people can't hear this message? No, the problem is that I need to get even more motivated. So I need to go where people care about ministries. And about that time, this guy gave me somebody went to school with me there gave me some sermon tapes from a guy named Jack Hyles. I had never heard of him at that point, from a small town in Ohio. And they were all cassette tapes. We still had cassette tapes in our cars. Actually, my car still does, but I have a really old car. but I listened to those, and man, I was inspired. I thought, man, this is a guy who really cares. He just says how it is, because all the pastors that I'd ever heard, they're weak and they were watered down, and they didn't really seem to care about ministry and all this. So I really felt the fire burning, right? And And I get invited to a church where Dave Hyles was the Sunday school teacher. It was called Pinellas Park Baptist Temple. Everett Ferris was the pastor at the time. I went there, and he was like those sermon tapes. Okay, so Everett Ferris, they would walk in and everybody would stand up and cheer for the pastor when he comes in. I'm thinking, hey, these people really care about God. I mean, I really was convinced, right? And I thought, all right, I'm in the wrong school. So after 2 years, I decided to transfer to Hyles Anderson College. Dumbest thing I've ever done in my entire freaking life. Where I would spend, now this is 1997, I would spend until 2004 at that stupid place trying to graduate. All right, so at this point, I'm 20 years old. So I go to Hyles Anderson College, and the first thing they want you to do is pick out a ministry. So I joined the bus ministry because they say, well, that's everybody's like telling you that's the hardcore, that's the big ministry. You're in downtown Chicago. That's where you can just let it rip, and you can go visiting all day on Saturday, and be on the bus all day on Sunday. And I thought, all right, well, that's what I need to do. So, and I was successful. I went up there and had huge numbers of people coming to church. And the day I turned 21 years old, I got my CDL and I started driving the bus. And here I'm going to college full time and working at a factory full time, which I became foreman. It was a very exhausting job. But over a few years, I became foreman. I started out on the production line, very, very exhausting, fast paced job. So I'm working there between 40 and 60 hours a week, going to school full time. Then on Saturday, they would tell you that you need to visit from 6 a.m. And remember, I'm not getting back from work until 1 a.m. So they want you to be at the meeting at 6 a.m. So you got to get up at 5 a.m. Saturday morning to get ready. Um, and every morning throughout the week, you have to go to chapel before you go to school. So you got all that time that you have to put in. And all day long. So I get up to Chicago around 8 or 9 o'clock, and we start knocking those doors. And we do it till 10 p.m. every Saturday. Not some Saturdays, every Saturday. So you get off at 10, you got to be back by the college by like 10:30 or something like that. So, and we'd always, and it was like, you still weren't dedicated to God. You didn't love God if you didn't get there at exactly 10:30. You got there at 10:28. You weren't committed enough. And they were serious. People would say that, but I didn't know at the time when I first started, and until a long time in, most of the people there, they were liars and scammers, and they just said things, made up stuff, made up numbers. Maybe they'd go do something else, or whatever they did throughout the day. A lot of them were that way. They didn't take what they were doing serious, but they got all the credit. And they had this thing called loyalty up there, and you had to basically swear loyalty to. You didn't have to literally swear loyalty, but you had to show loyalty to the pastor Hyles, and to the college president, to your bus ministry president, to your bus captain. If you didn't loyally do what you were told, and without question, and you were really looked down on and frowned on. Then on Sunday morning, remember, here I am, work all day, classes all day throughout the week, all day visiting on Saturday, and then on Sunday, okay, when I got my driver's license, my CDL, Class B CDL for buses, I would start driving the bus. By gosh, we'd have that bus at 5 a.m., so we had to get up at 3. I mean, remember, I just got back at 10:30. Democracy will be restored in America. Well, I thought it was supposed to be a republic, but yeah, democracy. I can, you not really what I'm talking about right now, bud, but yeah, I get you. Can't really argue with that completely. But anyway, so back to so on Sunday, I'm going out there, and I am driving that bus from 5 a.m. You got to get all the kids to church by like 9 or something like that. You go to church till like noon or something like that. Then you got to take them all back home. And immediately after, like within by the time you get that done, it's like 3 o'clock. You go eat lunch somewhere, usually at McDonald's or some fast food place. Um, they do have some great Mexican places in Chicago. But then that's one about the only thing I can say positive about Chicago. That's it right there. They have some good Mexican food. So, um, and some great theme restaurants like Ed the Bevix where they throw things at you and stuff like that. It's hilarious. But outside of that, stay away from Chicago. Anyway, then 4 o'clock, 4:30, you start picking up the kids for the evening service. Then you get them to the evening service, and then you got to take them all home again. And you have to understand Chicago, man. When I drove for the school for a semester, I passed 32 railroad tracks a day in that freaking bus. So when you're driving a bus, you got to stop, open the door, look both ways, 32 times. Well, anyway, I sat there and actually counted them one time. But anyway, so I'm getting in Sunday night at 1, 2 in the morning, and I got to get up for class. They'll make you get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I mean, make you. They'll come in your room and pull your covers out like in the military, and tell you have to be. If you're not already up, they'll get you out of bed. This is a college. These are adults. And the very first guy that I brought up there from Clearwater, who came with me in my car, that I thought was my friend, he starts tripping out from like the day he gets there, and he like starts threatening me and wants to kill me. Crazy old fool. He wasn't old, but I mean, he was just crazy mentally, and I was too young and stupid to even know what was going on. I was too young and stupid to know while I was in Dave Hyles' class in Clearwater that the whole class was having orgies. I had no idea. I should have known because this one girl I visited that was in that class came on to me, tried to get me to lay her, and when I was just visiting to see if she's coming to Sunday school, she started flirting real hot and heavy, tried to get me to lay her. But I was naive. I turned around, and walked out. I didn't want to damage, my testimony and all that crap, right? So I turned around, walked out. That was in Clearwater. So anyway, I brought this guy up from one of the churches that I attended that was a fundamentalist church in Clearwater, and he went nuts, freaking nuts. And he thought, then he just disappeared one day. I never heard from him again. And you'll start to see, like, when you're longer at Hyles Anderson, there's a lot of people like that. There's people getting kicked out left and right for all kinds of immorality. And then there's the stupid things they do, like they'll come into your room every single day, like the military, and they call it a white glove inspection every freaking day. And if your bed's a little bit wrinkled, they would write you up, and I mean just a tiny bit wrinkled. Or if your towel's crooked, hanging over your bedside or whatever, or if your drawer is just slightly open, they'd write you up for this. And what you had to do when they would write you up is you had to work, okay, for the school. Most of the time, that meant they would give you a piece of paper and make you write something for an hour, just like you're in, grade school or something. We're all adults, right? And this is what they're doing to us. And the more and more I went to that school, the more and more I hated it. But I let them convince me that I needed to dig deeper. So for the first 2 years, I thought, man, I just need to keep digging deeper and deeper, and I need to get through this. And I was dumb enough and conned into it to change my major to theology after frickin' 4 years of. And remember, there's no accreditation at Hyles Anderson. I had 2 years of accreditation in Clearwater, and now there's no accreditation at Hyles Anderson. So I've taken 2 more years of history and that sort of thing, and teaching and that sort of stuff, and it's all being lost because I start succumbing to the feelings that I'm worthless and not accomplishing my goals for God, and God doesn't like me because I'm not going towards the ministry and all that. Just being just a regular old teacher is not very important. Even though at the time I would have gone to a private school to teach somewhere. But that's not good enough. They really pressure you to join the ministry up there and to take theology. So I eventually let myself get conned into that. Then they start telling you that you can't preach without a woman. So I start looking for a woman, right? And I get married. That slows me down even more. But before I get married, all the offenses that they give you, making you work off, going and writing stuff every day. Yeah, right. No accreditation. It's insane. So they that not only did they make you write stuff, but they'd make you clean stuff some days. Just depends what mood they were in. One day it was hot summer day, real hot. They made me go outside and move piles of wood from one side to the other, and then back again and back again, just to work off these stupid offenses for dumb offenses like your drawers slightly open, and it wouldn't matter. They'd make up stuff, and they were just a holes. They would just come in there and just find stuff. And if I could find those people today, I swear I'd take a ball back to their head because they literally made me stay years extra at this stupid college for nothing. Because I had to schedule hours a day that I should have been taking classes to work off these stupid offenses. Because remember, I don't have extra hours. I have to go from there straight to the factory, work my freaking butt off, and then all that stuff on the weekends on Saturday, all day Saturday, literally all day, and literally all day Sunday. And when you're 20 years old, 22, 23, you can do that. At least you think you can. And I was able to do it for a while, but it got one day I was moving those logs, and the next day I fainted at church. I just fell over. I didn't know why I fell over. They drove me to the hospital, and they said I was severely dehydrated because it was out in the summer moving all this wood. Absolute insanity what they did to me. And they never get any flack for any of this stuff. They never cared how tired I was. Other people, they'd wreck their buses. They would, wreck their cars and exhaustion. People would fall asleep, and they still kept the pressure going. People died up there because they fall asleep at the wheel because they're just, this is the schedule they put you in. And they didn't care one bit. They didn't care about you. You know, they would have catchy things saying you need to care about people more than ministry. Not a one of them followed that. Not a one of them believed that. Okay. They would say it because it was catchy and it would bring more people in. People like to hear it, when you knock on doors, stuff like that. It was great in the brochure. None of them believed it. Okay. You were supposed to just sell out until God kills you, basically. And he did apparently kill some of them. And he almost killed me. I started hallucinating years into it, seeing things on the road in front of me and slamming on the brakes. And I knew it was just a matter of time. I was going to die. So I finally cut back a little bit. So that led me, when I finally did, by the last couple of years, I was so fed up with that place. All I wanted to do was just have nothing to do with it anymore. Um, I'd married a woman who I'm still married to, but she wouldn't back me. She was there to get married. She didn't really support that attitude in the ministry, so I thought she was evil. We've been married 22 years now, but so I just gave up on life. I said, man, I've screwed up all these years. I'm married to a woman who doesn't even want to do the stuff that I was there to do, and that's why I married her. I never dreamed that she wouldn't want to pour 40 or 50 or 60 hours or 70 hours a week. Actually, no, I was telling her when I got married, we need to pour in a minimum of 90 hours a week in the ministry. That's what I used to say. I was so freaking brainwashed. And I was pouring, 90, 100, 110 hours a week at least into everything I was doing already. So that seemed natural. I said, man, this is how you build a church. And she wanted nothing to do with that. She said, well, you can work, you know, you can go to the church and work a few hours a day, but you got to be home with me in the evening. And I'm like, what? I have to come home and eat dinner with you? Who the heck do you think you are, woman? That's what I thought. And I started just really hating her after that because she was not back in the idea that we were being taught up there. And she wasn't back in me. And so I gave up on life, man. I entered a depression that lasted from 2004 to 2017 or 18. By 2012, we had just gave up on fundamentalism altogether because she was having none of it. We were still going to a fundamentalist church in West Virginia, the very same church where Jack Scopp, the very last place he preached before he was arrested. He wasn't arrested there, but he did a youth conference there and then flew back up I guess, back to Indiana and got arrested up there. But and Jack Scopp, he'd been my preaching teacher, you know, and so I'd been under Dave Hyles in Clearwater, having no idea. After I left, he apparently killed his son, which appears to be, in my opinion, appears to be on purpose. And a lot of people think so too. Can't prove that, obviously. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law, blah, 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 blah. But, it appears some suspicious stuff happened there. He got his wife from a swinger magazine. I didn't know any of that while I was there. I'm from a small town and real naive. I didn't even know people did that stuff. I'm just completely naive to the world as a young 18, 19, 20-year-old guy. And when I was in Clearwater, man, I was dedicated enough. I went to France on a mission trip, spent 6 weeks in France, and I saw how. And I thought, man, the world is really lost, man. We really need to do something, And the Muslims have taken over all the streets, and they would just catch things. They would just go around with lighters and just light things on fire. And I saw them doing it, like in their little ghetto areas. And Chicago is full of ghettos. I thought, man, France is even worse than Chicago. Freaking insane. And so, I was sold out. So I had some big reasons. And while I was in Hyles Anderson, I won competitions. They'd have what they'd call a spring and a fall program where they would really concentrate on bringing more people to church and spend more money on buses and everything. One spring program, I and another guy decided we were going to win this competition. So we brought 86 people to church during that 6 weeks, first time people, and I won a trip to the Philippines. And I have to say, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me in a sense. Even though I loved the trip itself, while I was there, I saw people who were sold out with their wives. And at this time, I'd just gotten married, and I realized, wow, my wife doesn't support me. How am I ever going to do any of this stuff? And that kind of led that was the turning point that I realized all this stuff I've been learning in Hyles Anderson College, it's going nowhere. So it's going nowhere, but I didn't want to not finish and have that hanging over my head the rest of my life. Well, this is why you're not in a ministry. I knew I wasn't going to do it, but I dragged myself kicking and screaming over the finish line finally in 2004. So it took that long. And Hyles died in 2001. So Scott was but right before 9/11, not so long before 9/11, Hyles died. And then Scott, who had taught my classes down there, my preaching classes, and when he would show up, he rarely showed up for class. He almost always had somebody in for him. He didn't take his teaching job seriously at all. But he would say some really weird things, like it's like, well, when you get to be 20, you're going to doubt everything you ever believed. Then when you get to be 30, you're going to do it again. And then when you hit 50, you're really going to doubt everything you've ever learned. And I could tell he didn't at that time. I could read between the lines. I knew he didn't believe it, but I thought, well, at that point, I didn't care anymore. I just wanted out of that stupid school. I was just thinking, well, he can do whatever he wants. I'm not going to challenge him. What the heck, And I knew I was the only person in the room that could tell anyway. And if I would have said anything about it, everybody would have attacked me and said, "Oh, you're disloyal." Got so tired of hearing that crap. Because then my only loyalty was to God at the time. That's who I believed in. I didn't have any loyalty towards SCOP or towards Hyles or towards the school or towards bus ministry captain John Francis. I didn't care about any of those people. I only cared about the deeper calling from God. So I always felt responsible directly to God, not to them. And I didn't go to their stupid meetings at 6 o'clock in the morning on 4 hours sleep. And man, did they hate me for that. Man, did they castigate me for that. Because I'm getting 3 or 4 hours sleep and I'm working harder than anybody. I'm freaking driving forklifts at work, and I don't want to kill somebody. I'm running big equipment at work. I'm driving buses for people. I don't want to kill a busload of people, but they didn't care. They didn't care one bit. They would have let me kill them all. And there was one guy who did turn over a bus one time, and my bus nearly went over an overpass one time because the buses we would rent were such crap. The tire literally caught on fire. I had to pull the bus over. The mechanic gets there. He says, "Man, it's a good thing you pulled this bus over. His tire's just about to fall off." He said, "You would have gone around that overpass. So the whole bus would have gone over the overpass." And, this is the kind of crap we were dealing with up there. And it didn't matter if it's 2 feet of snow. We'd drive that bus if we could get it to start, and I would keep going until I found one that started. Okay, everybody else would give up. I'd be like, man, I'm going to get this stupid thing started one way or another. And I'd try every bus in the frickin' parking lot. If it took me 50 buses, I'd get a frickin' bus to start, and I'd drive that stupid thing. And it's Chicago. Parents don't care about their kids or anything. Throw them on a bus just to get rid of them, or they probably half the time they probably don't even know their own kids' names. That's hardly an exaggeration. I mean, they're, Chicago's just third worldish. It's might as well be Nigeria or something. And I guarantee you, Nigeria is better than Chicago. I'd much rather live in Nigeria than Chicago, even with their freaking battles and crap that's going on. Chicago's a real hellhole. I mean, one of our college students, just as he was driving his SUV down the Dan Ryan Expressway into Chicago, I think he stopped at a light, and somebody just randomly shot him for no reason. He doesn't even, had no beef against anybody. Nicest guy you'll meet. And the bullet went right through his cheek, out the other side, broke a couple of his teeth, and he was amazing to be okay. He was, an inch away from just being destroyed. So, and that was Chicago. The bus got stolen one time. One of our guys went into use the bathroom. He set his keys by the sink. One of the teenagers, and he was a deaf teenager too at that. That was crazy. He stole his keys and stole the bus and drove it to Chicago. All I did, I laughed my head off because I couldn't stand that guy. I laughed my head off for months after that. It still makes me laugh. And I didn't find that bus for weeks. That kid hid that bus. It's a couple months. I think it was a couple months later the police finally found that bus. That's just Chicago for you. I'd park the bus and I'd come back and all the windows would be busted out or egged, or everything on the bus that everybody left would be stolen. I mean, Chicago's just like it's literally third worldish. It's just awful. But early on, I thought, well, that's all the more reason to dig down deeper and go get them. Get them in church and get them changed. And there was some limited success. A few of them did, but very few. Very, very few. They would have these big baptism things where they'd rent horse troughs by the hundreds, and we go into these really ghetto areas. I can't. They made movies off some of them, and I'm starting to forget their names. Robert Taylor, Holmes, Cabrini Green. Yeah, those places like that. We'd go in there and we'd, witness to them. Hey, get saved. We'd baptize them right there. It's counting. It'd say we had 100,000 kids baptized. And it because we'd send out 20, 30,000 people doing this all over, and so the numbers are probably fairly accurate. But some people lie through their teeth too, so it's hard telling. The guy runs Spanish ministry up there. I think he still does. He would lie like crazy, and then he would castigate me because I was working my rear end off, and he really didn't. He lied about everything, but he'd come up and he'd hit me on the head when I'd fall asleep or something with his Bible. What an a-hole, what a jerk. But they rewarded that because he was loyal. He was a freaking liar, just like most of the rest of them. A guy says he filled my bus. He was my bus captain, so I'm supposed to be nice to him, right? I'm supposed to be loyal to the bus captain. He said he filled my bus up full of diesel, and he lied, didn't fill it up. And this bus he knew had a problem that if you didn't fill it up, you wouldn't make it through the day. 18 below zero, the stupid bus runs out of fuel. Can you believe that? That's how much these people really care about people. They just don't care about anybody. But as for me, I mean, my heart was just broken for these kids every freaking day, and I felt terrible for these kids, and I really wanted to help them, but and other people, and I was crazy. I'd stand up on their furniture and preach to them to their face right there in their own living room, and you have to know like what kind of people you can do that to, but and you meet all kinds. You talk to Sikhs and every kind of religion under the sun up there, so you get a lot of conversation. You start getting some life experience for how the world works a little bit, but I'm still very much in a box because I'm completely separated from it. You'd go into a 17-story high rise, and all the gangbangers would be down at the front keeping anybody in from, and they're a gang, and they're probably all packing, so, and you're thinking, this is really dangerous and really stupid, but I'm also pretty young and pretty naive, and I'm thinking, yeah, but I got a Bible. God will protect me. I really thought so. I mean, I really believed that. And apparently he did, right? If you believe that. Of course, you'll see here in a little bit, my beliefs are a lot different. But, I really thought, hey, God's protecting me. So I would go in there and they would all jump out in front of me. What are you doing in our building? and, and I'm a little nervous, a little scared, but I'm like, hey, I'm here to get kids for the church tomorrow. Remember the big bus that comes here every Sunday? I'm here to get them. They're gonna come to church. And miraculously somehow, because of my confidence or whatever, and I always made sure I brought the biggest Bible I had, so they knew I wasn't lying, right? Somehow they'd just be like, okay, dude, and they'd just part and let you up. Craziest thing in the world. I don't know how I didn't get shot up there, but like I said, one guy did get shot. Um, but I had my windows broken out, all the windows of my bus broken out, and the entire bus egged many, many times. Uh, we had crazy people, fights break out on the buses all the time because it's Chicago's hell, man. Chicago is third world times 10. I would rather live in a third world than in Chicago. Nobody has any business if you care about your children raising them in a hellhole like Chicago. And I wonder, like, does anybody care about their kids? And I've learned that no, people don't care about others. They don't care about their own kids. They don't care about dead kids. They don't care about dead women. They don't care about the murders of presidents. They don't care about anything. People in this country are just off their rocker when it comes to compassion. They have none. They don't have compassion. If you talk about murders, people run for the hills. If you talk about dead kids, oh my gosh, they'll accuse you of doing it without any reason to even say something like that. They'll sum you up and judge you and pretend like you did it. You talk about somebody's wife was murdered or something, they'll blame the person whose wife was murdered callously. And then will they help find justice for that person? Will they look into the evidence for that murder? No, no. They already know because they know. They know because they've looked at that person for 5 seconds and they know that they're right. And there's no way of convincing. And I don't mean some people are like this. I mean everybody's like this. I mean 300 million people in this country are like this. You can't find one that's not. I haven't yet, anyway. Nobody cares. Nope. And people don't care about their kids. My own parents, generally speaking, I made a lot of mistakes. They're good people, but how much do they really care about me? Uh, they care about their own interests more than anything else, I think. Hey, gorgeous Roddy Chrome, you're here. This is my first real live stream. I thought you'd make it sooner or later. So I just got done telling my entire story of Hyles Anderson, gorgeous. I don't know how I don't know if you just got here or if you've been listening a while, but um, man, I just went through my whole life of Hyles Anderson. Now we're getting to like the end of that part, but I may talk for a long time. I don't have a limit. I got all night, so I don't know how long I'll be here. But so anyway, so Chicago, it's hell, and I learned that people don't care about other people, but I really, really did. But I wanted out of that school. So I get out of there and I come to where my wife's from here in West Virginia. I'm in West Virginia right now, and it's where she grew up. And it was that church where it was the last place Jack Scott preached. Just got here, okay. And right before he was arrested, he's still in jail to this day. Taking a little kid across state lines for sex. And you read the text messages. Oh, and he's saying he's God. He's saying he's her God. It's really grooming her. And I knew that guy was messed up when I was in class. It's probably at least partly my fault because I didn't stand up then. But then again, I didn't think anybody cared because you had to be loyal. And that's all they cared about was loyalty. And I saw the deadness of their hearts. While they're pretending to be spiritual people. And everybody's like that at churches. Everybody pretends to be spiritual. Everybody pretends that they love God. Everybody pretends to care about people. But when it comes down to actually helping those people in a real way or seeking justice when somebody's killed, for example, nope, they'll blame you for it every time. Um, Nobody really wants to get their hands dirty and help when it really matters. Or even somebody that has a disability. Will they really help that person? No, they'll say, "Oh, we love you at church," but in the real world, do they ever show up and help? Seldom. I mean, really seldom. And I mean anemically when they do. We've had some nice people at our church before. I've been broke before. We've had people come and give us a little bit of money here and there, and we were appreciative. There was a little bit of that in our current church, which is not a fundamentalist Baptist church, by the way. And I'm out of it very recently, but my wife and kids still go, and I'm not going to stop them. I've been raising them that their whole life, right? So why would I? I'm not going to just expect them to change just because I understand the world differently now. Um, wouldn't be right or fair, but uh, it's only very, very recently that I've been out of this, and even a couple years ago, man, even a year ago, still pretty much in it. So, but not fundamentalism. We dropped that because my wife would not participate. She went to a fundamentalist Baptist college. In my mind, she was supposed to be sold out. Darn it, but she wasn't. She just wanted to be a wife, and you know, and because I was mean and really rude and angry, she didn't participate in anything. So she sat on the couch for 12 years, and all she did was just doing work. She didn't help with any chores. She just got really fat, really fat. I mean, she didn't do anything. And when she says it was my fault, well, I know when women say that, it's not always true. They do and she bears responsibility too, but I was an a-hole. There's no getting around it. I was mad at her because I thought being kind to your wife and growing a relationship didn't matter. I thought what mattered was the ministry, and I thought she was supposed to be sold out, and that she was supposed to be like me and just care about everybody else in the world. And so I was overlooking the reality of, man, my own wife is a person like everybody else I care about. That I need to actually care about her too. And that was hard. I didn't get that through my head for a very long time. So I got very, very, very depressed, suicidal. Almost killed myself once. Brought my gun with me. Um, drove out of state and thought maybe I'd use it. And fortunately I didn't. I made a real mistake with that gun this week, by the way. I'm not suicidal anymore, but I went out I cleaned it and I wanted to make sure it wasn't jamming anymore. So I went to the gun range to go shoot my gun, and it's just a little 22. So I couldn't find my ear protection, the headphone like things, go over your ears. I couldn't find the darn things anywhere. So I thought, oh, it's just a 22. It don't matter. I went out there and fired off 60 rounds at some targets at the range, man. And this was a couple weeks, I still can't hear. I mean, I can hear some, obviously, but I know I damaged my hearing real bad. There's for 3 days, like when I turned the water faucet on, I couldn't hear the water run. I was like, my gosh, I was really stupid. Live and learn. Never do that again. I hope it comes back, but still, I still got some hearing missing, especially my right ear from doing that. But anyway, so I'm going to be taking a concealed carry class real soon. I need to brush up on my understanding of the laws and things, because they're passing some weird laws here in Ohio and West Virginia, and they're saying it's open carry, right? But there's all these loopholes, all these strings attached to. Okay, it's open carry if you're on foot, but the second you get in your car, it's not open carry or concealed carry without a permit anymore. I'm saying it wrong. You still get concealed carry with a permit, but concealed carry without a permit's only when you're on foot. So they just passed this law. And that's not the only loophole. There's all these loopholes. So I know if I do it wrong, I'm going to frickin' end up in jail or something. So I'm going to go take the stupid class and make sure I know what all these new laws are and conceal carry properly. So open carry, though, you can, you've always been able to do that, but you can get in trouble with that if you're not careful too. People just say, oh, well, you're scaring me or something. They call the police on you. Oh crap! Oh, you're brandishing a firearm. You're really not. But this world's so messed up. People will try that stuff on you. So it's good to go to a class, and plus, making a stupid mistake like not using hearing protection made me realize, yeah, I better take this stupid class. I made a dumb mistake like that. I didn't think a 22 was powerful enough to affect my hearing. It was. You're in Arizona, it's full open carry. When I was in Indiana, gorgeous, I had concealed carry, but it cost, all they did was take my fingerprints. It was $15 at the police station. They took my fingerprints and they gave me a permit. That was it. No class, nothing. I don't know if it's still like that, but it was when I was at Hyles Anderson. Yeah, concealed with no license needed. Yeah, and maybe there's no loopholes in Arizona. I wonder, but yeah, they pass these laws, and I know devious people like Mike DeWine, who's sort of Democrat light, who only votes for conservative things when he's forced into it. I know he kind of helped put these little loopholes in there. Anything to undercut what he said, then he'll get credit for passing. Oh, yeah, there's open carry and concealed carry, even concealed carry with no permit now. Yeah, just don't get in your car like that, or you go to jail for heaven knows how long. And I didn't know that. I was going to go up to the store and buy a gun, and the people selling the gun said, "Oh, hold on now." And I'm thinking, yeah, okay, I better take this class. And we used to have a class required and a license, but they repealed. Good. I mean, I don't know if it's good or not. Man, there's some dumb people. I kind of thought that, but man, there's a lot of dumb people, and I'm even kind of dumb. I mean, I literally just fired 50 rounds, 60 rounds, thinking it wouldn't affect my hearing because it was only a 22, and it did. Affected my hearing a lot. So I don't know. And if I'm that dumb and about something like that, maybe other people would do even dumber things, like look down the barrel while they're cleaning it or something. And maybe they better take the class. I talked to somebody once that said they go to colleges to draw blood. People donate blood and stuff. And that lady's job was to draw blood. And it's a long time ago, but she said the college kids are so stupid in California that they literally don't know their own address. They'd have to, and some of them even, she says some of them even go home and call their parents to get their address so they could donate blood. I'm thinking, man, if people are that stupid, maybe they need a class before they carry around the firearm. Of course, those people probably would never touch a gun, right? There's certain levels of stupid, and I think they're sort of closer to the bottom levels. But they're in college. Those are the people going to be voting for Brandon next. But I'm like I like a lot of the things that Robert Price said. Gorgeous, I don't throw my friends under the bus. If anybody says anything about my friends, people that I talk to and interview with and stuff like that, or even just people that I know, they're gone immediately. I don't care how much money I might make. And I understand, like, if you're a convicted felon and maybe the only job you can do is be online, so you really need to watch your income, and there's a lot of convicted felons. You ever notice there's this one girl on YouTube, and I can't think of her name, and kudos to her, because she makes a show. She can't hardly get a job, because you've got that felony on your record. So she made a YouTube video about being in prison. And I admit it's got to be tough. So I don't want to. I want to reserve some judgment. At the same time, I have a hard time understanding throwing your friends under the bus for money, especially for over political views. Man, that's just wrong. But if anybody did that to my friends at all, and I do on Facebook, even on YouTube, somebody in the comments, I just immediately, I don't respond to them. I just block them immediately. They're not worth an answer. I don't respond to stupid. I don't care about stupid. I'm not in this for money. I have a book, of course, gorgeous, but I don't care about making money from the book. I just read it because I wanted to write a book. I was interested in the topic. Always wanted to, right? Now the next book that I'm writing is going to be really, really important. I don't think I'm going to put that on Amazon. I think I'm going to put that maybe do it myself or something, or a local publisher. So I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I don't trust Amazon to do a book that's that important. And it won't be about religion, and it won't be about. It will have some number stuff in it, but uh, the number stuff is secondary to the message by far, and only a limited amount of that. That message will be literally, that book will be used by historians 100 years from now. They're going to pick that book up and they're going to say, where was this book for the last 100 years? Why has nobody told the history of the nation? And they'll know why when they read it, why that information couldn't get out. You know it firsthand, gorgeous, because I don't think that was an accident what happened. I mean, it could be. We'll see. If they do it again, I'll know it's not. When my dad gets his copy, then I'll know for sure. If they do it again, I'll know that it's part of the scam. But anyway, so we're not here to talk about that book so much today. We're here to talk about religion and Bible numbers. Hyles Anderson. I noticed I could share my screen on here too. So there's some interesting things. When I went on to Derek Lambert, interesting thing about that name Lambert. You got Lambert and Mills are some of the two popular names out there on YouTube, and something about those two names kind of rang familiar with me. Oh, Lambert, that's like Queen, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Gay singers, right? Oh, Lambert was with Jacqueline Kennedy on DuPont's horses when she fell off a horse. Interesting. Man, and Lambert's all over my book, okay? And then I see them, oh, okay, and he's a ex-drug guy, trying to make a living and doesn't care for conservative opinions. Oh, shocker. So I'm very already worried about who these people are, when I'm listening to them. And then you got Mills, and Mills is all over my second book, okay? Like Lambert. Mills is the guy who was taking the pictures of George Bush in the kindergarten class. Doug Mills, as 9/11 happened. That's the Mills family. Mills is the guy at ASCAP who's Hugh's friend, and he's telling Hugh not to renew his license, and then and the licenses are issued at Foley Federal Court. And by the way, there's this show with Mel Brooks, and Brooks is very much in Hugh's story too. Mel Brooks and the Canadian girl. Oh gosh, I can't think of her name. Anyway, it was called Conspiracy Theory. Is an old movie, late 80s or 90s or something, and all this stuff is in there. They mentioned Foley Federal Court before 9/11. They mentioned 9/11 twice in the movie. And I'm just like, oh, this is before 9/11. And there's so many movies that did that. And there's a reason for that. And it has to do with what's in that book. And that book spells it out, and who they're marking and why and what they did, and just unbelievable amounts of truth. Well, anyway, Mills was he is one of the guys that was telling Hugh not to renew his ASCAP license at Foley Federal Court. And now, if you're new to Hugh's story and you haven't listened to the other videos that we made, you should go back, because you're not going to understand what I'm talking about without listening to Hugh's stories. He's got a lot of videos that he and I make. So I've got a whole playlist of just Hugh's videos, which is the majority of what I do on here, on YouTube. So listen to his story and understand the importance of Foley Federal Court. Okay, well, he renewed his license anyway for ASCAP, and his trademarks and everything had been stolen and throughout the years and used around the world. And then the CIA staged an attack on Foley, the journalist Foley. I think his first name might have been James, and they did cut him off. They did cut his head off, but we've got the pictures of Foley being beheaded in a studio. Okay. So this is the CIA doing this stuff. It's not terrorists. They're not people on the other side of the world killing journalist Foley. This is your CIA doing this. The same people that obviously rammed the airplanes into the towers. So, and why did they do that? They did that to tell Hugh to shut up. Oh, he hasn't shut up. He's telling this story, and I'm telling this story too. So, is it a little dangerous? Yeah. Yeah, but what's the alternative? I could be like everybody else in the world and not care about dozens at least dead children that were murdered in Macomb County. I could just turn my back on dead wives. I could pretend like I don't know that Osborne um, was with Oswald in the barracks and set up Oswald to framed Oswald for the murder of Kennedy. That this was gays from England partially and had to do with publishing licenses being stolen. I could pretend like I don't know what really happened to Kennedy. That affects every single person. How dare any American say I don't care about that? Well, how's that affect me? How dare anybody say that? Your president was murdered. It matters to you. When children die, you should care. There should be something in your if that doesn't reverberate with you, and you don't say, "Man, I want justice for murdered children." You have a black area in your soul, and I dare say that this is why this country is in so much trouble. Nobody cares about dead children. Nobody cares about even dead presidents, for that matter, or anybody in between. Dead wives that were murdered. They'll blame Hugh for murdering them and all this. It's unbelievable what they do, and it's because nothing resonates in somebody's heart. Let's care about getting justice, legal justice, not vengeance, not revenge. Let's do things the right way and expose these people. And that's why I say the things that I do. And that's not where I started. And when I come out of fundamentalism, I was still working 3 or 4 jobs because that stupid college of mine didn't give me an education. So there was only so many things I could do. I had to. Yeah, this is Hugh's story. Yeah. So when we're talking about Hugh's story, that I discovered it through him because it is his story. The theft of his trademarks is what led to 9/11, and his trademarks were buried under the bottom of the rubble of the World Trade Center, and he had a federal civil rights case against the Groves family at the time, and the Groves family are the people that founded the Pentagon, um, and that's why you had a missile destroy the Pentagon on 9/11. And that's why that little hole, it's not nearly big enough to be an airplane fuselage, and in the most surveilled place on earth, you don't have one clear picture of an airplane hitting the building. Gee, why is that? Could it be because an airplane didn't hit the building? I mean, that's the most common sense thing, right? But not maybe. It was specifically tailored to hit the spot in the Pentagon where that court case against the Groves family, the same family that founded the Pentagon, okay, would have been, and not just against the Groves family, but against the right, the theft of his trademarks that were being used around the world, the thefts of his contracts, and worth literally trillions of dollars worldwide. And when you think about that, when you're an ASCAP publisher and you have one song and it's worth and I show some of the songs, we show them on our videos and stuff like that. He has the contracts, right? Oh, hey, how you doing? Smooth Criminal, Triple OG. Yeah, Enron, yeah. But when you have one song that's worth $88 million and you have contracts to 28,000 songs just with your ASCAP, that doesn't count all the places that bottom line had been used around the world for bars, for every lawyer in the country studied out of the bottom line bar exam. So every single lawyer in America, that was done on purpose so that he couldn't win any court case. Um, and that's why 9/11 had to happen, because they had to bury what they did to him. Um, you're talking about trillions of dollars once you start adding it up. Um, they made bars all around the world named Bottom Line Bar. That's a word he invented. It wasn't in the dictionary. You can't trademark a word that's in the dictionary. He trademarked that word, bottom line, because he invented it, and then later it was put in the dictionary to hide it. Okay. Now you look it up and it says it's an accounting term, right? But it wasn't an accounting term when he invented it. It was the name of his band, and it was on the radio all the way up until Hoffa was murdered. And then and he was right there in Detroit. His band's right there in Detroit. His mother-in-law's with Hoffa the night she disappears. Okay, and it's all going to be in my book on why all this happened, and all the proofs about who and what and how and all this. All of it's there. All right. Not just pulling this out of my butt. This isn't just some crazy conspiracy theory. His mother-in-law's with Hoffa the night she disappears, and the FBI sets up Hugh and detains him first for questioning before O'Brien, before anybody else, for the murder of Jimmy Hoffa. This is all the same guy. All this stuff is happening to. Okay. So, and then he shows his baby pictures from when he was born, and on the back of the pictures, George Towers was the photographer, and he signed them. They were done on 9/11, okay, and it was George Towers, and he wrote 24 and 44 on there. So there was 24 and 44. Go one day and check any media news story, and see if you can get through 5 news stories without seeing the number 44. You can't. Okay, this is why George Bush destroyed the Twin Towers on 9/11. This was set up in his life a long time before. And it's not just him, it's because he's a famous family. It's related to the Queen. When the Queen of England would come to America, she would invite Hugh and his wife at the time and his mother, and they would go to the white glove dinners together. This is, their royal blood family. Okay, this is why and they're related to the people that kicked the monarchy, the founding fathers of America, out of this country. And so they've been doing this now they've done it more to him than anybody else, but they've done it to other founders too, and we can see and prove that also where they've attacked the founders like Baldwin, and that's why Baldwin was set up down in on the set of Rust. Okay, because think about who Baldwin was. He signed the Constitution. Okay, this is one of the founding families, just like you, of the country. All right, he was related to Jackson. This is why you just got a Supreme Court Jackson, because they had to replace his family with that family. His mother's family was Harris and Fuller, and so the president gave you Vice President Harris also to replace his family. These attacks have been going on for generations. And it makes perfect sense. Okay, and it's not just him, it's attacks on the founders. And by the way, they set up Hugh to this day living right next to a direct descendant of Benedict Arnold. Okay, they know what they're doing. All right. And this is how they're treating him. They're trying to characterize him as a traitor when it's the Queen who was meeting and setting these things up, and the attacks on our president, and he was and they sent people to steal from America and replace them so that they can steal your wealth. This is why you have so many rock and rollers from Great Britain. You ever wonder why the beat L's are the beats? Not it's not a bug. It's the beat, like a drum beat L's. What's the L mean? Well, the L means something. It means the same thing as an Elton John, L on Musk, L in DeGeneres. But nobody knows how to put this stuff together. But the Queen has been attacking the monarchies have been attacking this country for wealth, and so they knight the gays, bring them over here to America, and they make these songs and bring this wealth back to England, and she knights them for doing it. It's what Mick Jagger's about. Anyway, back to Baldwin. I thought I was going to talk about Bible numbers. I'll get the Bible numbers before I leave, I swear. We'll get to it. But this stuff's so interesting. And so Baldwin was a founder of the country, just like Hughes family Jackson and Harris and Fuller and the Harris Steam Thrashers and Harris Banks and Harris Publishing that owned all the magazines in the country, at one time. Most of the magazines, Time and Life, all the, thousands of magazines. That used to be owned by Harris, and then they got out of it and sold it before the internet came around. They're smart. But this family is very wealthy families, right? He's not wealthy because they stole everything from him. Oh, yeah. It's very interesting. So the way they set up Baldwin here is Hugh's related to Alec Baldwin somewhere along the way by marriage. Okay, so his sister married a guy named Brian Baldwin. All right. And Hugh starts getting phone calls from some guy, and he gets the calls right after he's been on Coast to Coast AM with John B. Wells. John B. Wells was interviewing Sophie Stewart, the woman who invented. She wrote the book. It was Terminator and The Matrix. They used to be one book, and then it was stolen from her, just like Hugh's trademark was stolen. And they broke it up into two movies. And she didn't get. She eventually got some of the rights back, or some of the sued, or something. I don't know the story perfectly, but she got some of that back by suing. Hugh never will. Okay, because this is related to dead presidents and dead kids and 9/11, so he'll never get his back. But Sophie Stewart got some of hers back. So Hugh called in on the John B. Wells show on Coast to Coast AM. That day, John B. Wells was fired from Coast to Coast AM. He still has a YouTube channel, and that's all he's got, as far as I know. And I occasionally show up on there, and I'll ask him, why don't you talk about Hugh? And he just ignores me. Why don't you keep talking about Hugh? You were telling the truth. Does the truth matter? But anyway, so he gets John B. Wells gets fired, and this guy was listening to Hugh on Coast to Coast. And he starts calling him. Okay, starts calling Hugh because Hugh gave his number out, I guess, on Coast to Coast, because he wanted people to call him. He still does on his Facebook page for people to call him and ask questions. He puts it out on his videos. And this guy says, I heard you on Coast to Coast. And he says, I'm going to kill your brother-in-law, Baldwin. And he says, oh, by the way, and Brian Baldwin, he says, oh, and my name is Brian Hawthorne. Well, who's Hawthorne? Literature, Hawthorne, Moby Dick, famous family in this country. And there's a whole story I could go into with that too. So nobody's interested in this much history. This amazes me. There's I'm amazed. It says 0 viewers. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just flabbergasted that we can tell this kind of history and the real history of your country, and nobody cares. So anyway, so we're talking about the Baldwin, and he says I'm going to kill your brother-in-law, Brian Baldwin. And by the way, my name's Brian Hawthorne. Well, he calls his sister and he says somebody's going to kill your. Oh, good. I'm glad you're here, Smooth. I'm going to kill your brother-in-law. He calls his sister, tells her that somebody's going to kill his brother-in-law. I've been getting these calls. You need to do something, And he does. He does exactly what he says. He kills his brother-in-law, Brian Baldwin. Then he turns around and he calls Hugh back and he says, now you're being shot. I don't know what you're talking about. But anyway, he says, now I'm going to go to where you are, and I'm going to kill you. So he drives from Michigan, Oakland County, Michigan, all the way across the country to the West Coast. I'm not going to tell you where, but somewhere on the West Coast. Okay? And I'm probably being shadow banned. Oh, I have no doubt. I mean, just look at the views. I mean, look at what I'm saying and look at the views. Yeah, Smooth, I'm being shadow banned. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about being shadow banned. But anyway, they never let Hugh's truth out. Remember, they literally fired John B. Wells the day that from Coast to Coast, because they let Hugh talk for a few minutes on the call in. That's how seriously they shadow banned him. So yeah, I guarantee you this little YouTube channel's shadow banned because it talks about his story. So anyway, so he goes all the way across the country to the West Coast, and he kills a cat, smears his blood all over his house, all over, throws his body in front of the door, calls him back and says, I did that, All right. Now, I know this story all the way back in 2018 from the time that Hugh's telling me about it. It just happened, I think, 2017. All right. I met Hugh in like 2018 or so. So he told me this story. So I've known this story for the last like 3 or 4 years. Then I'm listening to I'm watching news, and I see, oh, Halls hands Alec Baldwin a loaded gun on the set of Rust. Daryl Hall, the Hall family, okay, from TV's Hall and Oates, that Daryl Hall, he was one of the rapists who raped you at 4 years old in the basement with a bunch of other kids. Hall was like 13 years old at the time, roughly. And his family member hands Alec Baldwin a loaded gun on the set of Rust, just like Rusty killing this guy. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you that part. Daggone it, I ruined it. When Brian Hawthorne called and said he killed Brian Baldwin, he goes, "Oh, I changed my name to Rusty Killen," before he killed the cat. So then he goes and he kills the cat. He smears the blood all over, and then we hear Rusty Killen, or we hear on the set of Rust that Brian, or I'm sorry, let me start over. We hear that Alec Baldwin was handed a loaded gun by Halls on the set of Rust. And who does he accidentally shoot? Helena Hutchins, H, like Hugh, H. Hugh starts with an H and ends with an H. None of that's a coincidence, okay? This is the Halls family. Oh, and look at who the Halls are. Who was the first journalist killed in Ukraine lately? Hall. Or not, he wasn't killed, he was shot, I think. I think he lived. He shot at. Rust, well, Vladimir Putin is he's Hugh's he's relative through the Queen, okay? Through those royal families. He's part of that royal bloodline. Oh, and the first person he goes after is Hall. That's not a coincidence. And Hugh has backed Putin, and Putin. That's why I said there's this little sticker that says "I stand with Ukraine." I do not stand with Ukraine. I did not put that there. Restream did. So if you're saying that, that is not true for me. Everything that's going on with Ukraine is being done to hide money laundering, especially a lot with what to do with what the Clintons did, selling uranium through Ukraine and trying to make everybody movie stars. That's why all your it really does tie together, and a lot of people just aren't able to put this together, and they try to judge it before they hear how it goes together, and as if they know. Because this isn't going to be on CNN. Why? And they say, well, and I've had people tell me even this week, well, why don't you get your story on Fox News? Well, I told Alex Baldwin's lawyers, I called them. I mean, I called his secretary. His secretary won't. She probably conveyed the message to him. The lawyers won't call me back. I put it on news places. Why would these places call back? They have stolen Hugh's life and are profiting hundreds of millions, billions and billions of dollars they're making from the theft of Hugh's life. Why would they air that story? And why would somebody say that unless they don't know Hugh's story and they're just making a stupid comment? If you know his story, you're not going to say anything that stupid. but dozens and dozens of people say these stupid things over and over again. Oh, you must have killed your wives. No, is it possible that maybe the people who set him up killed his wives? I mean, he wasn't there when they died. Do you think that might be a clue? Gee, how stupid can people be? You killed your wife. Well, were you there? They don't even ask simple questions like that. Well, no, he wasn't there. So when they died, 2 of them were murdered, and he gave them CPR, and then they were murdered again in the hospitals, both of them, while he wasn't there. That's how badly he's been set up, and his wife's murdered, and they were all murdered on holidays. Oh, and then people say, "Oh, are you the conspiracy guy that puts numbers together?" Well, this is how your military and your government works. They use biker gangs and other people like this, and they'll kill by codes. This is why Great Britain has an office of ciphers, codes and ciphers. Okay, that's why the Baker family that set up Oswald talks about ciphers. People are so stupid. They don't. This is why you look at the Matrix, oh, which was stolen, a stolen trademark, just like Hugh's trademark, by the way. Oh, and who's the first person that goes into the Matrix? Oh, Cypher. And people can't put this stuff together. It amazes me. Oh, and then Baker makes the rainbow flag. I was amazed, by the way. This is a side note, but Kent Hovind had a member of the Baker family telling you about God today. Yeah, that's the family you want telling you about God. You want the Baker family that invented the rainbow flag. Yeah, yeah, they're going to tell you about God. Yeah, they will. They set up Oswald with Osborne. Yeah, they write books about pedophile Dave Ferry, the Baker family. Yeah, that's who you want telling you about God. Yeah, that's what you want. But Ken Hovind, he's a criminal, so of course he's in league with other criminal families. And I don't know if that specific guy's a criminal, but I don't have any proof of that. I don't know that guy, but I'm just saying that name, you know, and they're all religious. Always religious, man. Oh, they all love God. Osborne loves God. He was running ministries when he came down and stole Kennedy's letters, from Alaska. I mean, all these people, they always love God, right? The Bakers, they all love God while they're inventing the. Oh yeah, gorgeous. It's very far into it. Just the bibliography is 28 pages long. Okay. Uh, but people sum me up and they're like, oh, you're that conspiracy guy that does numbers. And I have to admit, when I was just coming out of Hyles Anderson, or not Hyles Anderson, but just coming out of fundamentalism, and I just finally got my wife to get a job so that I didn't have to work 3 and 4 jobs just to eke out a living because that stupid Hyles Anderson College and not having that kind of, any kind of a degree that meant anything. When my wife finally started working, I was able to start studying for the first time in my life. And I wanted to know what the real truth was, put my brain to work finally. And I started really diving in. So I said some things that were kind of stupid starting out because I was listening to Hubbard a little bit, and appearing on his show and not appearing, but calling in on his show all the time. And Hubbard, he's a freaking fraud because then I finally found out, oh, that's L. Ron Hubbard's family, isn't it? Oh, Scientology. Why didn't I put that together? Yeah, okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, the Hubbards are in the military. Oh, L. Ron Hubbard used to go to Hughes School to recruit celebrities in Oakland County, Michigan. Yeah, okay. So they're making military codes to hide to hide Hughes' story. Oh, okay. But I didn't get that, so I was kind of falling for that at first before I understood. And and everything that he does, oh, the Illuminati did it, oh, the Freemasons did it, everything goes back. This is how you know that somebody is a liar, and that way all their content, Alex Jones, all these people are being run, or they might not be directly run, they might just be promoted. They see somebody that's onto something, and so they'll push you and you'll get thousands and tens of thousands of views, but I'm telling the truth and I'll get 30 or 50, right? I'm shadow banned, like Smooth said. um, you know, and why? They're being pushed by the government to tell lies. When they start telling you the Illuminati did it, reptilians did it, when they start telling you that, that there's children under the Getty, or lizards eating children under the Getty, you get away from them. Run for the hills. When they say the Illuminati, there is no Illuminati per se. I'm sure there's some group of people out somewhere that call themselves the Illuminati, but they don't mean anything. Okay. This is not what's going on. This is not the truth. The real people doing this, they're people that might be smarter than you are, smarter than I am. They write and they publish, but these are wars among publishers and queens, and these are wars among governments trying, especially the Queen and the throne of England, who's supplanting the founders of this country, like I talked about with Baldwin and Osborne. All these are the what's the word, the Queen's extended family and people that she appoints. Peerage. I think, I'm not sure I'm saying the word right. Peerage. That's the word. Osborne's the peerage of the Queen. Baldwin was, the family of the people that. That's why you have Baldwin pianos. Put it together with publishing. This is Baldwin pianos and music and publishing and movies. And this is why they get marked like they do, because somebody's stealing from them. Halls and those people that raped Hugh are stealing from the founders of the country to replace them with gays, okay? Oh, and who did Mick Jagger marry? Hall, didn't he? Oh, and what did he sing? Who killed the Kennedys? There he is singing about how he, his people helped kill Kennedy. But you don't take the song seriously. He says it. He sings about it all over the country. He marries Hall, the people who are raping. This is why Putin just killed or shot at Hall, journalist Hall's and Hall in Ukraine. This is, but people are this stupid. They're ignorant. They may be stupid or they may be ignorant or both. They're stupid when they come up and they say, "Oh, you're just putting things that don't go together." And I've got 28 pages just in the bibliography of my book. I spent thousands and thousands of hours learning from Hugh, and I'm not a smart guy. I don't claim to. I went that stupid Hyles Anderson. I don't claim to be a scholar. I'm not making any claims like that. But Hugh himself is a genius. I mean, not like a little bit of a genius. I mean, like an actual verified genius. His uncle was the guy who invented the geodesic dome. Okay. And by the way, there's a movie about him. Something Fuller, and Baldwin's in it. One of the Baldwin actors is in it. And guess who made the movie? Kennedy's brother, Bobby Kennedy. Oh no, no, it'd be his nephew because it was more recent, since it made after he was killed. And I just recently wrote a letter to Sirhan. No, I can't tell you that. I can't say any more about that. Enough of that. So anyway, Baldwin and all the publishers are in there together. Sometimes my mouth gets ahead of my brain. But I'm telling you, this is the family of presidents and people who started this country. And the way that it is stolen is through music, through business, through theater. This is why Wilkes killed Lincoln. Okay, this was an acting family. Oh, and who was John Wilkes Booth's dad's buddy? Oh, Flynn. Oh, and who's Flynn right now? Does Flynn and President Trump mean anything to you? Why do you think Johnny Depp's really on trial right now? Oh, her dad is I forgot his first name. His middle name is Clinton. Related to the Clinton family. Uh-huh. How do people not put this stuff together? And what did Johnny Depp say? Oh, Johnny Depp said, "Well, how long has it been since an actor killed a president?" Now, you think the Clintons and the President Trump are enemies, don't you? Because you believe CNN and Fox News. Oh, we're going to put Hillary in jail. Is Hillary in jail right now? 4 years of saying that and chanting in the crowds. Was she arrested? Was she investigated? All the time you have Attorney General Barr that he puts on there. Oh, and who is Attorney General Barr? Oh, he's Graham's media guy from Graham Media that owns all the media in Detroit, right there where Hugh's from, covering up Hugh's story. It's unbelievable how this stuff goes together. But everybody's ignorant, and they'll say stupid things all day long. Oh, you don't know what you're saying. You're so stupid. You put things together. Yeah, you think? Could it be because, America's being attacked and has been for 200 years and it's demonstrable and easily provable? All right, buddy. It's good to see you. Taking care of a sick dog tonight. Hey, I got two nice dogs, man. Yeah, they puke all over the place whether they're sick or not. Good luck with that, man. I'll see you later. Hope your dogs get better. Or dog, singular. So, anyway, I should probably talk about some numbers since it says Bible numbers, right? I've been an hour and a half. I haven't even got into any numbers, right? So, but as I started studying for myself, and I started getting away from, I'd already got out of fundamentalism because my wife kind of dragged me out of it, kicking and screaming because she refused to participate, and I still wanted to go to church somewhere. So we joined the church that we technically go to now, even though, I don't believe in it anymore. But I started studying things for myself for the last few years, and it took a little while to get to where I am, okay? It took multiple number of epiphanies and understanding what's going on. And part of that was going through the whole Hubbard thing. That's what got me on the last 20 minutes talking about all the stuff I was just talking about. Hubbard. So, um, Hubbard, I don't want to talk anymore about Hubbard, but his his gematria stuff got me thinking about that. And I said some things that were stupid because I was putting things together that were intentionally being formulated by the nation's enemies and prompted into the public sphere by the nation's enemies to lead people down a rabbit trail, just like Alex Jones and the Illuminati, just like Jesse Ventura, you know, all of their stuff with just like Kelly and you know lizard people eating children under the Getty. All this stuff is baloney. Just and he's related to QAnon nonsense too. And I don't even want to say too much about that because nobody believes it. But he was one of the Hugh Squire was one of the first people who started writing on QAnon on the 4chan, and nobody knows it because he thought that would be a platform for people to tell truth, and then they started doing the Illuminati nonsense and started lying about everything. So he just got out of it. But nobody knows this stuff. But anyway. So as soon as you start hearing that stuff, and when you first start looking into things, I start falling for the same crap a little bit, but I don't stop. I keep learning, I keep growing, I keep expanding. And then some woman named Ward, last name Ward, actually her family's name's Ward, I'm not going to give you her real name, introduces me to Hugh Squire for the first time. And for the last 4 years at least, we spent thousands of hours learning and his real story's been greatly expanding my mind so that I understand what really happened in this country and how it relates to the theft of trademarks and how people are literally murdered every day to promote a song or a movie, or to take that person's spot on the radio, or that spot as an actor. And it happens with government. It happens from government to businesses. It happens with wars. This is what's going on in Ukraine right now. Cover-ups of uranium theft and sales from the Clintons. And the Clintons. Oh, by the way, how far do they go back? Oh, well, our 5th vice president was Clinton, by the way. Gee, you think they've been in politics for a while? Think they might have their tentacles. Oh, who'd we fight? Clinton and Cornwallis, and then his relatives are right there running the country. Just 5 presidents into it already. You think the Queen might have a few thousand years of experience? So anyway, so Hugh's teaching me all this stuff, right? And thousands of hours of learning and really studying the real truth of my history, and my views began to change. But in the process, I'd already learned what I had learned, and I wrote my first book, and probably some of that stuff is wrong, but most of it is right. But things, certain numbers do go together, and they go together in the Bible. So, and numbers are used from the Bible because they've been used for thousands of years by the people and families that wrote it, like the Queen's family, like the monarchy, right? Wrote the King James Bible, right? Translated the King James Bible, and more of them before that. So there are numbers in the Bible that go together, and they use these numbers not because they're in the Bible necessarily, but because they're familiar with the governments and the militaries and the monarchies and queens that are doing these things, that are committing the thefts, that are committing the murders. So let me see if I can share screen real quick, and I am going to give you, hopefully this shows up. Let's see here. Let's see what happens if you guys can see this. I'm going to put this down here. And here's an example. Yeah, okay. I think if I put it in the middle of the screen, let's see, I'll maximize that. All right. And this is obviously, I didn't discover this. This is from a pretty smart guy out in California named Jonathan Basie. So, and he did have a site, I think it's still there on Facebook, Number Archaeologist. So he comes up with a lot of this stuff and just puts basic math together. Okay. Well, just because you notice this stuff doesn't mean you're crazy. Obviously, this has been math, and math has been math for thousands of years. It's always been true. So it's hard to deny that that's the thing about math. Once you start seeing this stuff in the Bible, you go, oh, I see what they're doing. Did anyone else notice 9, 11, 19? 9 times 11 times 19 is 1881. But when you add the numbers 18 through 81, it equals that number 3168 right there. Now I'm going to unshare for a second. Alrighty, so cancel. All right. So remember, we had 911, and we had 1881, and we had 3168. 3 important numbers. All right. Very important numbers connected to the Bible. Then you look in the Bible and you say, oh, Genesis 11:9 is the Tower of Babel. What was destroyed on 9/11? The towers, right? Right. Remember, Hugh's baby pictures were taken by George Towers on 9/11, 1953. All right. So, and then, all right, there's so many things. Then you realize, oh, the longest chapter in the Bible is Psalms 119. Oh, that's 9/11 backwards again. Huh. Then you go to Revelations 9/11 and you go, well, this is interesting. The god of the bottomless pit, or the angel of the bottomless pit, Apollyon, the god of destruction, whatever you want to call it. So you have destruction in 9/11 of Revelation coming with towers, and there's a long gap between the two. The longest chapter in the Bible. And you put this together and you realize, hey, the Queen's family did this on purpose because they're the ones that put the numbers in the Bible, right? I mean, Psalms was naturally delineated, so maybe they started with that. But, the rest, most of the other books of the Bible weren't numbered like that. So the Queen's family put those in there. And then you realize the Queen's family did 9/11. Oh. Or she had a role to play in it. Theft of Hugh's trademarks had everything to do with it. Now, so 9/11 is about that. Now, it's not because it's in the Bible and the Bible forecast it to be like that, like some might say. Like I tried to talk to Lambert, and and I tried to just show them simple fact, but they're just not quick enough, not experienced in it, and of course, all they care about is money anyway. So you get your few minutes to say something, and you overwhelm them with more information than they can process. So try it on there to give them this information, because Apostate Prophet had put a show on one time where a caller, when one of his callers, call-ins, mentioned the number 1881, and he said the lines on your hands mean 18 and 81, and some, I don't know if it's Arabic or whatever language he was saying, right? Why did he say that number is 1881? I just showed it to you on the screen with my screen share a second ago. That was the second number on that. We had 9, 11, 19, and 1881, and 3168. So why? Where did this guy pull 1881 from? Now, I wrote a book called Why is the Moon a Cube, where I compare the cubes in the Bible to the symbols of Islam. So I knew that this was esotericism within Islam that was related to, that somehow had been going through I don't know exactly where the guy got it. Okay, he just said, oh, hey, this 1881 means means that this is God's mark on humanity because it was on the lines on your hand, right? And he was telling Apostate Prophet that. Well, Apostate Prophet blew him off because apparently he never really looks that deep into what he's doing. Maybe you should study a little of that Sufism a little bit, because I bet the Sufis probably know, because they're on all that symbolism and esotericism and stuff like that, right? Did I say the right thing? I think it's Sufis. No, I'm no expert in Islam or anything, but he should study the origins of this, because there's a whole lot of symbolism and a whole lot of esotericism that is also tied to the Bible. So I recognized that number 1881 immediately. I said, well, I know what that is. That's exactly what Jonathan Basie said. Oh, it's related to 9/11? Oh, yeah. And when did Abraham Garfield, the president of the United States, get murdered? Does anybody know? Oh, 1881, did you say? He was murdered in the year 1881? Oh, and is Abram Garfield, short for Abraham? Oh, just like Abraham Lincoln? Gee, could those two things be connected? And then we had 9/11 all these years later. Could the same people that are still in your country be organizing this? Gee, you think? But I'm stupid. I haven't done my homework or anything. These numbers aren't out there. I'm just pulling them out of my butt. There's just all these people all over the place that just seem to know about them, and they're thousands of years old, and it's simple math. You can't say they don't exist, because if you have a basic calculator, you can see they definitely exist. I mean, you multiply, and that's what they equal. You add, and that's what they equal. So 1881. Oh, and we had somebody killed here that was related to Hugh's story right here in our town. And guess where they were murdered at? And they mile marker 181. Yeah. Okay. And it's in my book too, and it's related to the Hughes story. Very interesting. Why do they keep doing this? Think it means something to somebody? Yeah. Yeah, they kill people by moon eclipses. They killed all of Hughes' wives on holidays. I mean, they do this to make a point. I got to take a drink. I mean, you'd have to be a dang fool to not understand that this is connected. Once you hear it, I can take people being ignorant, but I can't take stupid people that just want to argue with me or say it doesn't go together. But a few of them occasionally, well, they heard me before when I was just starting to learn, and I was putting some of the things together because I was being misdirected by people like Hubbard. And all they want to do is just say the Illuminati did it. There is no frickin' Illuminati of consequence. That's Alex Jones. Oh, gee, and Alex Jones. Alex Jones III was a publisher, and I think still is, of the Greenville Sun. Right there where Hughes' wives were murdered, in Greenville, Tennessee. Oh, and Hugh just happened to live right next to Alex Jones III. And then all of a sudden on TV, you get Alex Jones and InfoWars. And the Illuminati did it. Gee, you think that's misdirection from your government? Probably the CIA or FBI or Hall or Baldwin, or, not Baldwin. Baldwin's the innocent party there. But Hall or Osborne, or these names, we're saying names. They want you to do something nebulous to say, oh, the Illuminati. Well, who the heck's the Illuminati? Can you prove the Illuminati? Well, no. So you're just a crazy conspiracy nut, right? There is no frickin' Illuminati. That's what they want you to that's what Alex Jones wants you to be misdirected towards, is blaming everything on baloney. It's all BS. There's no frickin' Illuminati doing this stuff. But the Skull and Bones does use the number 322. That's demonstrable. It's in dozens and dozens and dozens of movies. So you watch that movie with Mel Brooks called Conspiracy Theory, and while they're laughing at the guy for putting things together, so the whole movie is to try to make you look stupid if you think for yourself, right? At the same time, they're flashing 322 and giving you 9/11 before 9/11 happens, several times throughout the movie, right? But the natural thing to do would be, oh, you're just like the guy in the movie, putting things together in the movie, because oh, that must just be a conspiracy. Geez, how did they know about 9/11? I mean, how did WWE, how did Hulk Hogan wrestle the? He was the something powers, the twin powers or something. They fought the twin towers or whatever. tag team match, and he and Savage were fighting him, and he goes, "Oh, and the Twin Towers are going to come crumbling down." I got that video on YouTube too, if you want to look through them. You know, just like George Bush saying Hughes' name on 9/11. You know, Hughes Towers are come crumbling down. Anyway, I need to get back to the numbers. I get too far away. There's so many rabbit trails because you have to understand when there's this much stuff connected. You know, it's too easy, and it does go over people's head. I'm aware of that. So what an intelligent person does is they ask questions and they say, "Teach me more." They don't say, "Well, I understand that you're crazy." If you don't understand what I'm saying, how can you know I'm crazy? Don't you need to understand the topic before you can evaluate it? I mean, you know, how many things did I say that you had no clue about already? How many aliens even knew that Clinton was your fifth vice president, or you know, Baldwin signed the Constitution, and that has something to do with, you know, rust and and that whole story I gave you. So I want to go into it again. So back to, so we had our three numbers again. Here, I'm going to show that to you again. I'll just bring it right back up here. Share screen, and let's pull that up. Oh, no, here it is. All right. So we got 9, 11, 19. So 9 times 11 times 19 is 1881. Then you add the 18 through the 81. We already covered that pretty good, and it equals 3168. All right. So why is that 3168 important, folks? If you've been watching my other videos, you already know, okay? I went through great depths and wrote out the Greek alphabet on the blackboard to tell you how this works. That is the name, or the value rather, of Lord Jesus Christ in Greek gematria, not modern gematria like Hubbard's using, not the BS, okay? The value of Greek letters, just like Latin or, you know, Roman numerals. You know, you learned your Roman numerals. You know, I as a letter, it means 1, X means 10. All right, well, Greek letters had value. This was being used by church fathers like Irenaeus to find the Antichrist, possible who might be the Antichrist back in 150 AD. He's trying to figure out who the Antichrist is, so he's writing down in Greek gematria the value of their names, you know, trying to see if this guy might be the Antichrist or this guy. Irenaeus was doing that, so we used his cipher. This is, you know, this is not pulling out of my butt like Hubbard. This is going back 1,900 and whatever year, 1,850 years. Okay. All right. This is not some brand new thing. So he used his cipher, and the value of Lord Jesus Christ added up in Greek letters is 3168. Now, what are the coincidences? What are the chances? That's a coincidence? How are you going to say that's a coincidence? That one thing had more to do with me understanding the Bible when it has the fingerprints of people who understood Pythagorean geometry all over it. And there's all kinds of things like this in the Bible, of mathematicians. That one thing showed me that it wasn't written by fishermen. Okay. It wasn't written by people that didn't know how to read. This was by educated people that knew math too, not just how to read, not to just had somebody, you know, they just verbally told them a story and they wrote it down for them. This was by people that not only knew how to read and write, but knew the complicated math and Pythagorean concepts to incorporate the value of the names with their geometric principles. So let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to screen share again. All righty. And I love how people like Lambert and Apostate Prophet, they just, you know, dismiss this. because they're that stupid. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. All right. Here's the Earth. All right. The Earth is the circle. The Earth is not flat. The Pythagoreans did not think the Earth was flat. They were measuring the size of the Earth way back then. If you could see any one of those lines on the square, all right, that is the same as the diameter of the Earth. So they knew the world was round. So if you make a square and it's the perimeter of the Earth, fictional perimeter of the Earth, all right, and you times the diameter of the Earth, which is any one of those lines, times 4, look what it equals, 31,680. Interesting, isn't it? 31,680. Now it's just, that adds a 0 to it, sure. I was thinking I had one that showed the, look real quick here through my numbers. See, these were smart people that did this. And this is why that 1881 number was floating around in Islam for some reason. Let's see, does this one? Oh, here we go. Oh, that's the same one. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter a whole lot, but exactly what I said is the truth. So you take the, if you want to see the diameter of the Earth, take 31,680 and divide it by 4. That'll give you the diameter of the Earth. Well, the Pythagoreans, is 7,000 something. I just don't have the exact number memorized. But they were able to understand that the world was round. Some guy, I think his name started with an E, was the first credited for figuring out that the world was round, like, I don't know, 600 BC or something like that. I mean, and if he didn't, somebody did, because it was such an obviously simple process that anybody could do it, right? Somebody, one of those mystery schools, knew it, understood it, and they created names and invented the name Lord Jesus Christ. And the Cairo, the CH and R, CH is one letter in Greek, and the row, the Cairo, was a good luck symbol 500, 600, 700 years BC. It's on all kinds of architecture. So they were already using that to create the name Lord Jesus Christ. Mind blown? I hope so. So the Queen's family, when she's, through King James, or, I understand she sacked Coburn and replaced the, the previous family and stuff like that. But, the monarchy of England, and they're still all related somewhere along the line. When they translated the Bible, they put those chapters and numbers and verse numbers in there by this sort of information, so that some of this would work in English too. So not only does it work in Greek, but if you use their cipher, which is called the septenary cipher, it works in English too. Not that one, not Lord Jesus Christ, but it does equal the diameter of the sun instead in English. So, they put this together by Pythagorean, not to the exact mile and inch like we use modern satellites, but the way they rounded it off by the math that they used thousands of years ago. That's pretty darn accurate. Everybody thinks of generations ago because, we all think we came from apes, and I don't know. I don't think we did, but who knows? They think mankind was stupid. They've been smart a really long time, or at least a whole lot longer than people give them credit for, because they understood this. And what are you going to do when you don't have internet and TV sitting around? You're going to sit around and write all this stuff and create math all day in a cave, I guess. Just because you and I don't do it doesn't mean there weren't sects of mystery school people doing this. And there were. I don't even know if Pythagoras himself was a real person. That's debatable. But there were all kinds of mystery schools that had that sort of information, and one or more of them put this stuff together. Once you see their fingerprints all over the Bible like that, you don't have any choice but to say, what I learned at Hyles Anderson, especially, is the biggest bunch of bull that's ever been invented in mankind. Then you kind of look at the rest of what you've been taught, even at basic, I don't care if you're Free Will Baptist, it doesn't matter which denomination you're in, you really need to go back and rethink. What have you been taught? So I know I talked a little more about Hugh than I really meant to, but I did get back to the Bible numbers. So nobody came in. I thought maybe an atheist or somebody would call in or something, or I get some idiot. It's kind of nice not to have idiots call in, so I don't really care. But if you want to learn more about that, if you want to see the ciphers right there in a book, buy the book. It's in the description. I mean, if you don't like it, use it for toilet paper. It costs less than toilet paper anyway, thanks to Brandon. So let's go, Brandon. We'll stop it there.